My name is Sue. I'm sitting in my apartment on an ordinary Saturday, sunlight streaming through the windows. There's coffee on the table, a book I've been meaning to finish, and a kind of silence that used to feel lonely, but now feels like freedom. My phone buzzes. It's a text from Jake, my lawyer friend. Coffee tomorrow? Bring your brutal honesty. I smile and type back. Always. But it wasn't always like this. 6 months ago, I found myself in the middle of a legal battle with my own family. It all started when I received a collections letter in the mail. The envelope looked ordinary, with a standard bank letterhead and my name and address printed in that impersonal font all financial institutions use. I almost threw it away with the junk mail, but something made me take a closer look. The header read, "Second notice. Mortgage payment overdue." The property address was for a house I'd never heard of in a town I'd never been to. As I read further, my hands went cold. The outstanding balance was $682,000, and my name was listed as the co-signer. I called the bank immediately. The representative was polite, but completely unaware of the storm she was about to unleash. Yes, MS. Sue, you're listed as co-signer on this mortgage. The account was opened 14 months ago. The primary borrowers are my parents, Robert and Linda, and my sister, Lily. I was in shock. I'd never signed anything for this mortgage. But there it was, my signature on file, notarized on a date I clearly remembered being out of town. That night, I called my mother. She answered the phone casually, as if nothing was wrong. "Sue, what a nice surprise. We were just talking about you." I demanded an explanation. There was a long silence, and then she said, "We decided you should pay." I was furious. I refused, and they didn't apologize. Instead, they took me to court. Growing up, Lily was the golden child in our family. She was warm, charming, and always knew the right thing to say. Teachers adored her, and neighbors waved when she walked by. My parents were always bragging about her at family gatherings. I, on the other hand, was quiet and focused. I preferred numbers to small talk and spreadsheets to gossip. I excelled in school, but my parents never seemed to notice or care. When I passed my accounting exam at 28, I called home expecting congratulations. My father's response was, "So, when are you getting married like your sister?" Lily had married Tom at 26 and had 2 kids by 30. My parents helped them with everything, from rent to buying a car. When I graduated with student loans, I paid them off myself. No one offered to help and no one asked if I needed it. It all started to go downhill 3 years ago. Lily called me asking for $18,000. She said she needed a new car because the old one had engine problems and Tom's job wasn't covering the expenses. She promised to pay me back within 6 months. But she still owed me $10,000 from the last time, and I'd never seen that money again, let alone a thank you. I said no, and my mother called me that night, crying and saying I was cold-hearted. 6 months later, Lily asked me to co-sign her apartment lease. The landlord wanted a guarantor, and her credit wasn't strong enough. I explained that co-signing meant legal liability, but my father gave me the cold shoulder for 3 weeks. Then, there was my nephew's 6th birthday party. I couldn't attend because I had a deadline for a major client audit. I sent a gift and called to apologize, but Lily posted a status on Facebook saying, "Family should always come first." Sad when some people forget that. After that, I started keeping records. I created a folder in my email called Family Requests. It was filled with every request, every refusal, and every guilt trip that followed. I didn't do it out of spite, but because I knew that someday I might need proof that I wasn't crazy. As the court date approached, I was filled with anxiety. I knew my family was willing to lie under oath to get what they wanted. The day of the trial, I arrived at the courthouse early, wearing my best suit. Jake met me in the hallway. He looked sharp in his black suit, carrying a leather briefcase. "How are you feeling?" he asked. "Like I'm about to watch my family lie under oath," I replied. The courtroom was small, with about 40 seats in the gallery. The judge, Judge Thompson, entered the room, looking stern. "Our family's lawyer, Mr. Harris, went first." He paced in front of the bench and said, "Your Honor, this is a case about broken promises. A daughter who agreed to help her family and then changed her mind when the bills came due. Lily was called to the stand. She walked forward looking like a victim. She testified that I'd promised to help with the mortgage at a family Christmas dinner 2 years ago. She said I'd nodded, and in our family, a nod was as good as a signature. My father testified next, saying the same thing. They never mentioned the forged signature. Jake stood up slowly. Your Honor, my client never made any verbal agreement. She said she would think about it, which is not a promise. And more importantly, there's a mortgage document with her name on it that she did not sign. He entered the mortgage application and my flight records as evidence, proving that I was out of town on the day the document was notarized. The judge studied the papers. Mr. Jake, are you suggesting this signature was forged? I'm stating it as fact, Your Honor, Jake replied. He then presented an email chain between Lily and the loan officer, Mr. Davis. The emails showed that Lily had asked if she could add my name to the application without my being physically present, and Mr. Davis had agreed as long as the documents were properly notarized. Lily's face turned pale. She started to stutter. I thought it was okay. My dad said he would handle everything. My father's jaw dropped. The courtroom was in an uproar. Judge Thompson banged her gavel and said, "Order in the court." After a moment of silence, the judge said, "I've reviewed the plaintiff's complaint. They allege a verbal agreement, but the defense has presented documented proof that the defendant never signed the mortgage application and was out of state when it was allegedly notarized. I'm dismissing this case with prejudice. Furthermore, I'm referring the mortgage documents and related emails to the district attorney's office for review of potential fraud charges." I exhaled for the first time in months. But we weren't done yet. Jake immediately said, "Your Honor, my client has a counter-claim. Sue is filing suit against Robert, Linda, and Lily for identity fraud, forgery, and damages to her credit and professional reputation." The room buzzed with surprise. The judge ordered an immediate review of the mortgage documents. If fraud was confirmed, my name would be removed from the mortgage. I stood up and said, "I never wanted this. I didn't ask to be put on a mortgage. I never agreed to. You chose to do this instead of apologize. Remember that." After the trial, Lily and Tom's marriage fell apart. Tom found out about the forgery and couldn't trust Lily anymore. My parents had to sell the house because they couldn't keep up with the mortgage payments without my name on it. They'd already used their retirement savings for the down payment. Aunt Martha called me a few months later. Her voice was small and hesitant. "I didn't know the whole story, Sue. I just believed what Lily told everyone. I'm sorry. I should have asked you directly." I was taken aback. It was an apology I'd never expected to receive. Grandpa George sent me a handwritten letter. His handwriting was shaky, but the words were clear. "I've updated my will. You're taken care of. You deserve to have someone in this family stand by you." He passed away a few weeks later, peaceful in his sleep. I started therapy to understand why I'd allowed myself to be treated poorly for so long. My therapist, Dr. Smith, said, "Sometimes the people who are supposed to love us teach us to accept the unacceptable. Healing means unlearning those lessons." I changed my last name to my mother's maiden name, Hill. It was a small act of reclamation. I now have a small group of friends who respect my boundaries. Jake and I get coffee every few weeks, and we laugh about bad courtroom movies. As I sit here in my apartment, I think about how far I've come. I may not have won a traditional victory, but I've won my integrity, my freedom, and the right to say no. And that, I've learned, is more valuable than anything.